Hi, everybody. It's Alex Jarett again with Technology Executives Club. And today's topic for our leadership briefing is people-centered governance for local and state government. And here with me today is Jeff Scheetz, our Board of Advisory members, and also the CIO from the City of Avondale. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Alex.
It's great to see you. And let me just share this with everybody and we'll get started. If you enjoyed today's briefing, please be sure and check out all of our videos and podcasts at technologyexecutivesclub.com. Now let's get started. So, Jeff, award-winning CIO for local and state government. You've been doing this for a number of years, and I really enjoyed our spotlight interviews that we've already done with you. And you keep bringing up this concept of people-centered governance for local and state government. And it's resonated with our viewers. So thanks for coming back and sharing with us what you mean by this and how they can implement this strategy for themselves. So first, tell us what we're talking about. What does this concept mean?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. To me, governance is something that has been seen a lot of times as something that prevents people from doing things. It shows up as barriers. I think of it as a no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But when we look at people-centered governance, it shifts it from a no and being restrictive to the organization that builds and owns this governance together. And it creates a yes, and it helps the entire organization move forward, but yet with some nice guardrails in place and making sure we're doing things ethically, we're doing things correctly, especially when we start in this area of AI, right? Well, I'm sure we'll talk about AI. Yeah. And how do we do that? And how do we keep those guardrails on, but yet experiment with it, use it, and implement it correctly?
What's interesting, you said that really well. It's counterintuitive, like you said. When I first learned about governance, I was the same way. Oh, there's the guardrails. That's where I got to stop. When I was working a couple of different places, but it really isn't about that. It's really about protecting everybody, the organization, everybody, and fulfilling your duties or to your clients, right? In your case, your constituents, correct?
Yeah, it really is. It's about how do we do things, secure, right? We get in IT, we got to focus on what security today. We really need, and it's constantly changing. The landscape's constantly changes. How do we keep things secure? But again, even over the years, the security teams have received that department of no, right? That's what they've been known as, and some of that sort of thing. And so again, how can we address that, right? And that's a governance thing. I look at policies and security as governance. And how can we make that department become more of a yes? And how can we work together, enabling the business, enabling the organization to go forward?
It really is going forward securely and safely approach is what you're really saying, right? That's what you're saying. I almost envisioned in my head as you were explaining on a ship, make sure you've got the life jackets, the boats, make sure that you've got the gas, enough gas to get you through your journey, or on an airplane, you got to go through those checklists to make sure that you lift off and arrive safely. And that's really what you're talking about. You're not saying, no, you can't do this. You're saying, yeah, let's experiment with AI. Let's leverage AI. Well, let's do it safely and securely for our constituents. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I like your checklist scenario, right? Because I think that's exactly it with everything, right? Whether that's a new technology, whether that's AI, whether that's security within just software applications in general that IT has to manage. I think that those checklists, right? And I think, again, governance in the past has been very difficult to work through, very restrictive.
So it really is moving forward and weather any storm that will come. You know, we look at AI projects. We all know the stats on big projects in general, but in particular, was it 80% or 90% at the beginning of the year that report came out from MIT? It was like 90% failure, right? It was huge. Yeah, it was a big number. A number of these people, when you look at what they actually did, they were doing these crazy projects. I think it was VW Porsche. They wanted to revamp this entire system for all their products in one swoop, and it failed, and it delayed some of their products being released.
Yeah,
their cars. So I think you got right on the money.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us the history of invention? Where was it that you first came up with this idea? Maybe it was a couple scenarios, and maybe then you could conclude with giving us the 2 or 3 steps that you want to talk about in today's video.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Really, throughout my career, everything IT does throughout the organization and the business is a project. We worked on projects, right? And each one of those projects comes a certain layer of governance, if you want to call it that, right? Where there are
Right.
certain policies, security controls, what all that goes into place. A lot of times those have been turned over to IT to traditionally handle. I've learned over the years that doesn't work. Like your example of making all the process changes at once, right? We know we can't handle that much at once from just a change standpoint, from an implementation standpoint, right? So I think the key is developing a framework, right? And so one of the examples I have is instead of IT trying to finalize the governance model on its own, we shifted that approach completely. So we brought together representatives from the operational teams, the subject matter experts in the organization, from within IT, within security, and even leadership, right? Into a working group. I don't want to call it a committee that just gets to meet and talk, because sometimes committees get those reputations of we're just going to meet and not do anything. That's not what this was about. So having that, bringing these committees together and these conversations, it changed everything. So instead of governance feeling restrictive, the team started helping design the workflows. They supported the business while maintaining accountability and security. That results in better adoption, fewer bottlenecks, and more trust between IT and the organization. And to me, that's really what people-centered governance is all about. And we're going to talk about how to move from a no to a yes within organizations.
That's great. So basically what you did is you got all the constituents involved from your organization, right? And they were actively participating in the project. And so from there, now you've been doing this for a number of years, and I know you've come up with 3 areas today that you really wanted to talk about. Why don't you just share what those 3 broad areas are, and then we'll talk about each one.
Yeah, we'll talk about 3 areas within governance that I think are really key to changing the way it's done. We're going to talk about delivering value. We're going to talk about creating guardrails, and we're going to talk about creating collaboration across the organization to really make this happen.
Yeah, I think that all 3 of those are key, but that last one, that's the tough one. That's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Got to happen.
Yeah. So the first topic is delivering value. Tell us what you mean by that. And then I know you have a story you want to share about that.
Yeah, so I really do feel like governance needs to provide that value. Otherwise, we're just being a department of no, or we're restricting the department. Right? So I'll use an example that just happened to us in the last couple of years with our AI discussions, right?
Yeah.
When AI first came out, rather than just creating a policy or saying, no, we're going to shut this down until we figure it out, we took an approach of let's get everybody together. Let's get the key leaders, the key department heads, a cross-functional team throughout the city together to really look at what is this AI thing? A couple of years ago, what is this? Is it going to be around? What are we going to do with it? And then how do we implement this, right?
Yeah.
And that really changed it for us because we shifted from let's just shut it down. We're not going to use it. We're not ready yet, which would have been the easy approach, to really now how do we use AI as a team? And we had legal, all the key departments on there to help us define these guardrails, if you want to call it that, instead of just a list of, no, you can't do this, you can't do this. If you do this, you're in trouble. There's always some of that in a policy, right? But now we've really changed it to how do we enable this to be used throughout the organization?
That's a great story. So you really did do what you said, which is governance should deliver value and not just be delivering a no. You don't want to be the department of no. You want to be the department of how can we get it done?
Exactly.
Responsibly, I think, right? That's what you're really saying. So that's number 1, which is delivering value. You want to make sure that you deliver value. I like that.
I do.
All right. So the next topic is creating guardrails. Why don't you tell us how you would define that for this framework? And I think you also have a story for that as well.
Yeah, I think governance is most effective, as I mentioned, when it creates those guardrails instead of those roadblocks, right? So the guardrails give us clarity. They keep us on the road so we don't veer too far off, but it gives us some width within the road to drive around and do a little bit of experimentation with, right? If we go back to the guardrail scenario. Yeah. So really the goal shouldn't be to create restrictions or slow people down, but to try out new ideas, right? So that's really where we're headed with our guardrails. So one example that really reinforced this idea of guardrails involved a department that wanted to start using AI to summarize large amounts of internal information.
That's a good one.
With long meetings, large interviews, investigations, different things like that, extensive amounts of documentation. Yeah. They might have 200 pages of documentation from various processes they're wanting to consume. And really, how do we use AI to enable this department to move forward, right? So really, this AI committee working together with this department. Instead of the department running off on their own, they came to the group, came to the committee. Hey, how can we do this? This cross-functional AI team working together, sat down. How can we implement this? How can we make sure the guardrails are in place? We're not giving data to AI that they shouldn't have. And then again, ensuring once they generate the summary, we still need that human in the loop, right? That's such a key aspect of today. And so all of that was involved with all this whole process as they go through it to ensure that it creates these great summaries, but somebody's still reading through this. But just the amount of time taking 200-300-page documents, summarize them down into 5. We got somebody reading all of it, but they can say, yep, that's correct, right? And then now asking AI, now what do we do with it, right? And asking for next steps and guidelines. We've seen some of that coming in. But again, it's all within these guardrails and making sure the data is used properly and there's somebody looking at it. We're not just taking AI's word for it.
Yeah. Wait, you mean it drifts? It actually makes stuff up? Yeah, it's been known to. Were you successful in helping the department, or were they able to do it?
Yeah, it's something we're working through now. We've done some scenarios, and yeah, it's working really well at this point for that department. We want to make some more tweaks and add some more tool sets into it for some more data types that our current AI tools don't handle.
Yeah.
But no, we're making some great progress with that.
That's great. That's a great story. So let's talk about the last area, which is collaboration. And again, what do you mean by that? I think you had a good story for that as well.
And that's kind of my theme, is working together, right? It's not an IT thing doing this in a box, or any other department for that matter. You can't do it right. And so when I really look at collaboration, this is something that I really look at, or we've made some major improvements in our project intake. So I look at our governance through intake. And over the last couple of years, we had departments competing for budget. They wanted to bring in their own projects. We had involved in every project when it involved software or anything like this, right? And so it's resources within IT, it's IT time, it's IT budget, whatever that may be. And so again, collaboration, we changed our project intake forms and our project intake process rather, to where if a department wants to bring in anything new, we take it to an IT governance committee. That committee, the department head comes in, justifies why they want it, what they're going to do. As a committee, we talk about budget, we talk about priorities, right? And we talk about who's going to own it, what's the process going to look like. So all of that comes into play, again, to keep all these projects moving forward. And that's been a huge change in what we've seen. Instead of just everything coming to IT and IT becoming the bottleneck or saying, hey, I don't have the resources. Now the governance committee is behind us as well, saying these are going to be our priorities for the upcoming year.
This sounds great. I've got to ask, because I've heard about project committees and governance committees before. How is this different, this people-centered approach, unique or different than the traditional committee sort of structure for getting these kinds of things done?
Yeah, normally what we would see is we've had a governance committee for years. Yeah. We really focused on a lot of this governance, more about the policy and direction and strategies and that sort of thing. But now, instead of each of the departments come budget time would put in, I want this software application, or I need to change this process that's going to involve a technology system. Sometimes we would see those at the budget request time. Sometimes departments would work with IT ahead of time. And then we're scrambling during budget season with city management and finance to what do we have priorities for? Now, by bringing them ahead of time, they go to the governance committee and they can help. Now we see the bigger picture. The entire governance committee sees the bigger picture of these are what all the departments want. So now it also helps us plan. We're not going to do that this year, but we need to make that our priority for the coming year. So now it's a bigger picture going across the organization.
So part of the change in the approach is to get involvement early so everybody can work together to make it happen. That's what I'm hearing.
It is. And it's not department competing against department, because now it's like there's an organizational view in place instead of why is this department always getting the preferential treatment or always getting the new projects coming in. Now there's a reason why. It's more transparent too, because now everybody understands why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah,
it sounds amazing, but in today's world of things moving so fast, how can you plan that so far ahead? Are you still able to do that? It's got to be a challenge.
Now, that's one of the key struggles I feel like in public sector is our budgets are a year out. We start planning our budget 6 months early. So we're planning a budget and our software applications and all of that we want to change 16 to 18 months in advance. So you're absolutely right. It is hard to change. And that's some of the struggles we find, but also it makes it exciting because we're constantly making those changes as we go as well. But this is really where the governance committees helped. These are our priorities, right? And then we're working better now as an organization through these governance committees to make sure we get what we need to get done in the year. So instead of doing one project, maybe we need to do 3 that are related, right?
Yeah, it sounds like a great model. It's not just people, like you said, saying, "This is what I got to get done," and then the budget shows up, they submit it. And like you said, certain people or departments always win it for lots of different reasons, and people will get frustrated. Now people are all working together as much as possible for a shared vision, which is pretty cool. Yeah, this has been great. I really like this concept of people-centered governance because you get everybody together to actually get things done. It is not about being a continual department of no, but a continued department of how do we get it done? And let's work together to do it. So this is a really great approach. Is there any last comments you want to add? Because this has been a really good segment.
I think for me, I really think this is the future of governance. I think especially in government and public sector, like we talked about budgets and how we're in some ways behind, but in some ways we got to do a lot more planning because technology is evolving so quickly. Even look at AI, like who forecasted AI 4 or 5 years ago, right? The way we're doing it today. So governance isn't just about control. It has to be the framework that really organizations use to innovate.
Yeah, that's great. Listen, this has been Alex Jarett, Technology Executives Club, and Jeff Scheetz from the City of Avondale, CIO. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Alex.
And everybody, don't forget to watch all of our videos and podcasts at technologyexecutivesclub.com.